HFY lived alone on the small, cold world called Thalor 9. He grew plants in big glass rooms and kept his door locked against strangers. His skin was gray, with old scars that glowed faintly when he felt fear or anger. Long ago he had been a soldier of the Voran Dominion, one of the strongest forces in the galaxy. Now he was only a name on a list of refugees. The Galactic Concord gave him this place to hide after his home worlds burned. One quiet morning, a silver shuttle landed near his garden. 3 aliens stepped out. They wore the smooth robes of diplomats. One was tall and thin, with feathers on his head. Another had 6 eyes that moved all at once. The third looked like a walking rock with slow, heavy steps. They carried no weapons, but their faces showed worry. HFY watched them from his window. His mandibles clicked once, then stopped. The feathered one spoke first, through a small translator box. "We come from the Concord Council. We need your help." HFY stayed silent, turned back to his plants, and pulled a weed. The rock creature spoke next. "Humans are moving closer to our borders. We hear stories. We need to know what they are really like. You fought them. You lived. You are the last one who can tell us." HFY felt his scars brighten. He remembered fire in the sky and screams over the radio. He did not want to speak. He wanted to stay quiet and grow food until he died. But the tall, thin one stepped closer. "We have new messages. Humans gather ships near the Red Nebula. They speak of expansion. If we do nothing, more worlds may fall like yours did. Please." HFY looked at their faces. They were afraid. He knew that look. He had worn it once. He sighed a long, rough sound. Then he nodded. "Follow me." They walked into his small house. It had 1 table, 4 chairs, and walls made of pressed dirt. HFY sat down. His forearms rested on the wood. The diplomats sat too. Recording drones floated above them, small and quiet. HFY stared at the table for a long time. His secondary limbs began to shake just a little. "You want to know about human warfare," he said. His voice was low and rough. "You think it is like our wars. Clean lines, ships in formation, honor codes, polite messages before the first shot. It is not." The feathered one leaned forward. "Tell us everything. Start from the beginning." HFY closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them and began to speak. "I will tell you what I saw. I will tell you what I felt. But know this, when I finish, you will not sleep well." He took a slow breath. "The first time we met humans was at the place we called the Kraken Vale. It was a dark cloud of gas and dust. Voran ships patrolled there to keep others away. Our fleet had 300 warships, big ones with strong shields and weapons that could cut moons in half. A small group of human ships came through. They had only 7 vessels, old-looking hulls, patched in many places. We thought they were lost traders or scouts. The message in all known languages: "This is Voran space. Leave or be destroyed." The human answer came fast on every channel: "We do not negotiate with trespassers on our frontier." That was all. No pleas, no offer of trade, just those words. The admiral laughed. He gave the order to surround them. Our ships moved into position, perfect formation, like in the training manuals. Then the humans did something strange. They did not wait. They charged, straight at us. No elegant curves, no careful shots. They pushed their engines hard, engines we thought were weak. They slammed into our shields at full speed. Metal screamed. Shields cracked in places we never expected. Boarding teams launched from our side, elite soldiers in heavy armor. We thought it would be easy. Humans were small, soft. We would take their ships and question their leaders. Instead, the humans fought back in ways we could not predict. When our soldiers entered their corridors, humans did not run. They stood and shot. They used small guns that didn't come out very well. Spat metal fast. When ammo ran out, they used knives. When knives broke, they used teeth and hands. One human laughed while blood poured from his mouth. He kept firing until he fell. Kael'vor stopped. His claws scratched the table. The diplomats stared. None of them moved. I was on a boarding frigate, he continued. I led a team of 20. We cut through their outer hull. We expected fear. We found fury. Humans waited in the dark. They threw grenades that filled the air with burning dust. Our visors cracked. Our lungs burned. Still they came. One human grabbed my squad leader and drove a metal rod through his chest. Another human kept shooting, even after we cut off his arm. He smiled as he died. We lost contact with the flagship. I saw it on my screen. The bridge was open to space. Bodies floated. Human shapes moved among them, cutting and stabbing. Our admiral died with his honor blade in hand. A human stood over him and took the blade as a prize. Then the humans left. They did not loot. They did not take prisoners. They sent our own battle logs to every open channel so the galaxy could see. They flew away and left us broken. Kael'vor looked up. His scars glowed bright now. His whole body trembled. The diplomats said nothing for a long time. The rock creature finally spoke. That was one battle. Surely later ones were different. Kael'vor shook his head. Later ones were worse, much worse. But that first meeting taught us something. Humans do not fight to win points or land or glory. They fight to make sure no one ever tries again. They fight like every battle is the last one they will ever need to fight. He leaned back in his chair. The recording drones hummed softly. The diplomats looked at each other, then back at him. We need more, he said quietly. We need to know how it ended for your people. We need to know why you shake when you speak of them. Kael'vor stared at the wall. His voice dropped lower. Because I saw what they can do. Because I lived when so many did not. Because somewhere out there, humans are still moving. And if your worlds stand in their way, they will do the same things again. The feathered one swallowed hard. Then we will listen. Tell us the next part. Kael'vor nodded slowly. His trembling did not stop, but he began to speak again. Kael'vor sat in the same small room the next cycle. The diplomats returned. They brought warm drinks and soft cushions. Perhaps they thought kindness would make him speak easier. His scars still glowed from yesterday. His secondary limbs shook more now. The recording drones floated closer than before. The rock creature spoke first. You stopped at the Krakenvale battle. You said later fights were worse. Tell us what came next. Kael'vor rubbed one claw along the table edge. He looked at the wall, as if the memories lived there. I will tell you, he said. But remember, you asked for truth, not comfort. After the Krakenvale, the Dominion woke up angry. Our leaders called it insult. They said humans were insects who needed crushing. Orders went out to every shipyard, every factory, every training camp. 300 ships became 1,000, then 2,000. The great punitive fleet gathered. It carried the best soldiers, the strongest weapons, the sharpest minds. We would find the human home. We would burn their worlds. We would end the threat forever. Kael'vor paused. His mandibles clicked twice. The feathered one leaned in. What did you find when you arrived? We found no single empire. No grand capital with shining towers. Humans lived on many worlds scattered like seeds. Each world built its own defenses. Each world trained its own fighters. They had no central king to kill, no single fleet to destroy. Instead, they had factories that never slept, mines that dug deep, forges that glowed red day and night. Our scouts reported strange things. Human ships moved in small groups. They never stayed long in one place. They appeared, attacked, vanished. Our admirals laughed again. They called it cowardice. I knew better already. The first big clash happened at a system humans called Epsilon Eridani 4. It had 3 rocky planets, and 1 green one full of cities. Our fleet arrived in perfect order. We formed a wall of steel. We bombarded the green world from high orbit. Thought cities would fall. People would run. Leaders would beg. Nothing like that happened. Humans answered with missiles from hidden silos deep underground. They used their own air to make poison clouds, so our landing ships could not touch down safely. When we sent troops anyway, humans waited in tunnels under the rubble. They wore pieces of our own armor, taken from the dead. They spoke our language through devices pulled from prisoner throats. They knew our commands, our signals, our weak points. Kael'vor's voice grew quieter. One night, my unit dropped into a ruined city sector. We searched house by house. We expected broken spirits. We found traps instead. Floors collapsed under us. Wires cut our legs. Gas-filled rooms we thought safe. Humans appeared from shadows. They did not shout battle cries. They whispered to each other in calm voices. Then they killed. I lost half my team in one street. A human child, no more than 10 cycles old, threw a small bomb. It stuck to my sergeant's leg and exploded. We shot the child. He fell but smiled first. Another human, an old female, dragged herself forward with no legs. She held a gun in shaking hands. She killed 3 more before we ended her. Our medics tried to save wounded humans. They refused treatment. They spat at us. They said, better dead than prisoner. Our soldiers started to fear the night. They jumped at shadows. They shot at nothing. Kael'vor's claws dug deeper into the wood. The diplomats sat very still. The six-eyed one asked, did your fleet ever take a city? We took surface ground, yes, he answered, but never control. The humans went deeper underground. They built new tunnels while we slept. They came up at dawn. They struck supply lines. They poisoned water. They cut power. They left messages written in our blood. Never again will you feel safe. Weeks passed. Our ships ran low on fuel. Our crews grew tired. Our admirals pushed harder. They said, one more push, one more landing. Humans would break. We landed on the second. Planet A. Frozen world with mines. We thought it easy. No cities, no forests, just rock and ice. Humans had prepared there too. They had machines that moved under the ice. They drilled holes and dropped bombs from below. Our tanks sank into cracks. Our walkers fell into pits filled with sharp metal spikes. At night, the temperature dropped so low, our suits cracked. Humans wore thick furs. They moved like ghosts. They attacked in small groups. They never stayed to fight fair. They hit and ran. One raid destroyed our main fuel depot. A single human in a stolen Voran suit walked in calm as day. He placed charges. He walked out. The explosion lit the sky for hours. We lost enough fuel to strand half the fleet. Morale fell. Our soldiers whispered, humans are not people. They are machines of hate. They asked why we came so far to die. I had no answer. Kael'vor's body shook harder now. His scars pulsed bright then dim, bright then dim. The tall, thin diplomat spoke softly. What happened to the officers? Humans hunted them. They learned our ranks from captured data. They targeted commanders first. Snipers waited days in snow for one clean shot. Assassins slipped into camps at night. They used thin wires to cut throats while soldiers slept. They left bodies with notes pinned to chests. Your turn next. Admirals stopped sleeping in their quarters. They moved to different ships every cycle. Still, humans found them. One admiral died in his command chair. A human slipped through vents, cut his throat, and left before alarm sounded. The bridge crew found him cold, with eyes wide open. Kael'vor stopped speaking. He breathed hard. The room felt colder. The rock creature broke the quiet. You survived all this. How? Luck, he said. Mostly luck. And because I started to think like them, I stopped following strict orders. I started to expect traps. I started to fear the quiet. I became careful in ways Vorans never were. That saved me more than once. Did it win anything? It won graves, he answered. Worlds became tombs. Ships became wrecks. We killed many humans. They killed more of us. In the end, we retreated. Not in formation, Not with honor. We ran. We left burning hulks behind. We fled back to our core systems, hoping humans would not follow. They did not chase right away, but they sent messages to every world we held. They broadcast images of our dead. They showed our broken ships. They spoke one sentence over and over. We remember. We do not forgive. Vor looked at each diplomat in turn. His trembling spread to his voice. That was only the beginning. The real breaking came later, at Nexus Prime, but that story waits for another cycle. The diplomats nodded slowly. None of them spoke. They rose. They left the room without words. Vor stayed seated. His scars dimmed a little, but the shaking never stopped. Vor waited 3 cycles before he let the diplomats return. His garden needed tending. His mind needed rest. But rest never came. The memories stayed loud. His scars burned brighter each night. He knew the story had to continue. He knew they would keep coming until he finished. When they arrived, the room felt smaller. The recording drones hovered lower. The diplomats carried no food or cushions this time. They sat quickly. Their faces showed strain. The 6-eyed one spoke first. You told us about Epsilon Eridani. You said the fleet ran. You said humans sent messages. What happened after the retreat? Vor folded his forearms across his chest. He stared at the floor for a long moment. Then he began. The retreat bought us time, but not much. Our leaders called emergency councils. They spoke of regrouping, rebuilding, striking back harder. They pointed to Nexus Prime, our greatest stronghold, the heart of our shipyards, the place where new warships were born every cycle. Defense platforms, layers of shields, fleets in waiting docks. If anywhere can stop humans, Nexus Prime could. We moved everything there. Ships, factories, workers, families. Even the high command relocated. We turned the system into a fortress. Moons became gun platforms. Asteroids hid missile batteries. Gas giants hosted hidden repair stations. We believed no force could break us there. Scouts watched the borders. They saw human ships appear, then vanish. They saw supply convoys grow. They saw new designs, sleek hulls with strange engines. We told ourselves humans needed years to match our technology. We were wrong. One cycle alarm sounded across the entire system. Human fleets arrived. Not one fleet, many. They came from different directions at once. Their numbers shocked us. Thousands of ships, some large, some small, all moving fast. No need formations, no signals, no demands. They simply advanced. Our outer defenses fired first. Railguns launched heavy slugs. Missile swarms filled the void. Point defense lasers lit space like stars. Humans answered with speed. Their ships twisted, dodged, accelerated at impossible angles. Many took hits. Many kept coming. Damaged hulls leaked fire, but still pushed forward. Then came the first wave of their new tactic. They launched warheads early, very early. Warheads detached from ships while still far out. They accelerated alone, turning the launching vessels into giant boosters. Some pilots ejected at the last moment. Some stayed aboard. Their ships became living missiles. They aimed not at single targets, but at shield overlaps, at weak joints, at command nodes. Explosions bloomed across our rings. One defense platform shattered. Another tilted and spun out of control. Debris fields grew thick. Our admirals shouted orders. Our gunners fired until barrels melted. Still humans came. Vor's voice dropped lower. His secondary limbs shook so hard, they knocked against the table. The rock creature asked, "Did you fight on the ground?" Nexus Prime had surface cities too. Huge domed habitats for workers and families. When human landing craft broke through atmosphere, we met them on the soil. Our soldiers formed lines. We used heavy armor. We used energy lances. We expected a stand-up fight. Humans landed in chaos. They crashed ships on purpose. They used wreckage as cover. They poured out in thousands. Some wore powered suits. Some carried only rifles and grenades. They did not form ranks. They spread out. They flanked. They infiltrated. They climbed buildings. They dropped from rooftops. One memory stays sharp. A squad of our elite guards held a command bunker. Humans reached it after hours of street fighting. Our guards had superior weapons, superior training, yet humans kept advancing. They threw themselves against barricades. They soaked fire to let others pass. One human female ran straight at a heavy turret. She held explosives against her chest. She died in the blast that opened our line. Inside the bunker, they fought room by room. By room, they used our own furniture as shields. They shot from vents. They poisoned air recyclers. Our soldiers fell back step by step. In the final chamber, our last officer stood with his honor blade. A human Marine faced him. The Marine lowered his gun. He spoke through a translator. "You fought well. Now it ends." The officer raised his blade. The Marine shot him once in the head, then walked away. No trophy, no insult, just efficiency. Vor paused. His whole body trembled now. The Feathered One whispered. "And the shipyards?" "Lost," he answered. One by one the main ring fell when humans rammed it with a gutted freighter loaded with antimatter. The secondary yards burned under sustained bombardment. The construction cradles cracked open. Half-finished ships drifted useless. We tried counterattacks. We sent our best pilots and fast interceptors. Humans met them with swarms of small drones. Drones that moved like insects. Drones that carried tiny warheads. Drones that never missed. Command tried to evacuate. They loaded shuttles. They prepared jump points. Humans anticipated it. They seeded the escape lanes with mines. They waited in ambush. Our leaders died in flashes of light. Their ships became clouds of gas. I was on the last command deck when it happened. I saw the admirals make their choice. They activated self-destruct codes rather than surrender. They died with dignity, or so they fought. Humans boarded anyway. They cut through blast doors. They found the bodies. They took data cores. They left the rest. Vor claws scraped deep lines in the table. I was pulled from wreckage by human soldiers. They did not kill me. They bound my wounds. They gave me air. They fed me paste from tubes. They asked questions in calm voices, about reserves, about allies, about plans. I answered some. I stayed silent on others. They did not torture. They did not threaten. They simply waited. One human sergeant sat across from me. He looked tired. His armor showed many repairs. He asked, "Why did your people come so far to fight us?" I said, "We feared you. We wanted to end the fear." He nodded. Then he said, "We understand fear. We live with it every day. But we learned long ago that the only way to stop fear is to make sure no one dares start it again." They kept me alive. They patched my suit. They put me on a shuttle. They sent me toward Concord space with one message. "Tell them what happened. Tell them we remember." Vor looked up. His eyes were dark. His scars pulsed slow and steady. The diplomats sat frozen. The six-eyed one finally spoke. "And after Nexus Prime, what remained of your dominion?" "Nothing," he answered. "Worlds surrendered. Ships stood down. Leaders fled or died. The Dominion collapsed in weeks. Humans did not occupy. They did not rule. They simply watched. They sent probes. They broadcast warnings. They let the galaxy see what remained of our pride." Vor leaned forward. His trembling reached his voice. "That is why I shake. Not from cold. Not from age. From memory. From knowing what humans become when pushed. From knowing they never stop until the threat ends completely." The tall, thin diplomat swallowed hard. "Is there more to tell?" Vor nodded slowly. "One last part. The part where I learned their mercy hurts worse than their anger. But that waits for the final cycle." The diplomats rose without words. They left the room. The drones dimmed. Kael'vor stayed seated. His shaking continued long after they were gone. Kael'vor did not sleep much after the last telling. His dreams filled with fire and silent human faces. He walked his garden in the dark cycle hours. He pulled weeds he did not need to pull. He tried to steady his shaking limbs. He knew the diplomats would return soon. He knew the final part waited like a wound that refused to close. 4 cycles passed before they came again. The room looked the same. The table bore fresh scratches from his claws. The recording drones waited in their places. The diplomats entered without greeting. They sat down. Their eyes held deeper shadows now. The rock creature spoke in his slow, deep voice. "You said there is one last part. The part about mercy that hurts worse. Tell us now." Kael'vor sat across from them. His forearms rested heavy on the table. His scars glowed steady, but faint. His trembling had become constant, like breathing. He looked at each face in turn. Then he began. After Nexus Prime, the Dominion ended. Not slowly, not with long battles. Ended fast. Worlds that once stood proud sent messages of surrender. Ships powered down and drifted. Crews abandoned posts. Families hid in shelters, hoping silence would save them. Humans did not march in to claim thrones. They did not plant flags. They watched from afar. Their probes circled our remaining systems. Their messages repeated the same words. We remember, we do not forgive. Many Vorans thought the worst had passed. We thought humans would take territory, or resources, or slaves. That is how wars ended in our history. That is what we understood. But humans did something different. They let most of us live. They returned prisoners. They sent medical supplies to broken worlds. They rebuilt what they had shattered, in small, careful ways. It felt wrong. Kael'vor paused. His secondary limbs twitched against the wood. The feathered one asked, "Why did it feel wrong?" "Because it was not kindness," he answered. "It was a lesson. A reminder. They rebuilt so we would always see what they could destroy again. They healed so we would remember the pain. They spared lives so survivors could carry the story. They turned mercy into a weapon sharper than any blade. I became one of those survivors. They kept me longer than most. They questioned me many times, not with pain, not with threats. They asked about our culture, our history, our fears. They listened, they recorded, they nodded, they gave me food and rest. Then one cycle, they loaded me onto a small shuttle. They set course for Concord space. They gave me clean clothes and a data crystal full of images from Nexus Prime. The sergeant who spoke to me before came to say goodbye. He stood in the hatchway, his face calm. He said, "You are going home now. Not because we like you, not because we pity you, because someone has to tell the others. Tell them exactly what happened. Tell them we can do it again if we must." I asked him one question. Why show mercy at all? Why not finish us? He looked at me for a long moment. Total destruction leaves no one to learn the lesson. We want the galaxy to learn. We want peace through memory, not through graves. The shuttle left me at a neutral station near Thalor 9. Concord officials met me. They gave me papers. They gave me this small place. They told me to stay quiet. They said the war was over. I tried to obey, but the shaking never left. Kael'vor's voice grew softer now, almost a whisper. I see humans in every shadow. I hear their calm voices in quiet moments. I wake from dreams where they stand over me with guns lowered, smiling. I know they could have ended me. I know they chose not to. That choice haunts me more than death would have. The diplomats shifted in their seats. The six-eyed one spoke carefully. Are humans still out there, moving, expanding? Yes, he answered. Their ships appear in new sectors. Their colonies grow. Their voices fill open channels. They trade, they talk, they laugh. But every species remembers. Kraken Vale, Epsilon Eridani, Nexus Prime, every species watches their borders now. Every council meeting includes one question. What if they turned toward us? Humans do not conquer with armies alone. They conquer with memory. They make sure no one forgets. They make sure the trembling never stops. Kael'vor lifted one claw. He pointed at his own shaking limbs. Look at me. I am the proof. I am what remains when humans decide to teach a lesson. I breathe. I eat. I grow plants. But inside, I am still on that command deck, watching admirals die, watching cities burn, watching mercy arrive like a cold wind. The tall, thin diplomat leaned forward. Is there hope? Is there a way to live beside them without fear? Kael'vor considered the question. His scars dimmed slightly. Perhaps, he said, if you never threaten them, if you never cross their lines, if you remember what they taught us, they value survival above all. They protect their own with everything they have. If you respect that line, they may never turn their full attention to you. Humans do not forget insults. They do not forgive threats. They do not tire of war when it becomes necessary. They become something else, something focused, something unstoppable. He stopped speaking. The room stayed quiet for many long moments. The recording drones continued their soft hum. The diplomats looked at one another. None wanted to break the silence first. Finally, the rock creature stood. He spoke slowly. Thank you, Kael'vor. You gave us truth. We will carry it back. We will share it. We will prepare. The others rose too. They nodded once each. They walked to the door. The feathered one paused. He turned back, his voice quiet. You tremble still. Will it ever stop? Kael'vor met his eyes. No, he said. It will not. Because I remember. Because I lived. Because somewhere humans still exist. And as long as they do, the galaxy will carry this tremor. The diplomats left. The door closed softly. Kael'vor remained seated. He stared at the scratches on the table. His scars pulsed slow. Limbs shook, without pause. He did not move for a very long time. Outside the small house, wind moved across the garden. Plants swayed under gray sky. Somewhere far away, human ships traveled new paths. They carried no anger, no hate, only readiness, only memory. Kael'vor finally stood. He walked outside. He knelt by his plants. He touched green leaves with careful claws. He whispered to them the same words humans had taught him. We remember, we do not forgive. Then he returned to work. The trembling stayed with him. It stayed forever. Kael'vor knew this would be the last time. The diplomats came on the 5th cycle. Their steps sounded heavier. Their faces carried the weight of 4 long tellings. They entered the small house without words. They sat at the scratched table. The recording drones rose into position, one last time. Kael'vor took his place across from them. His scars glowed steady now. His trembling had become part of him, like his breath, like his heartbeat. The tall, thin one with feathers spoke first. You have told us the battles. You have told us the retreat. You have told us the mercy that cuts deeper than any blade. You said there was one final truth, the warning in the trembling. Tell us now. Finish the story. Kael'vor looked at them all. His forearms lay still on the table, for the first time in many cycles. He nodded once. Then he began. Everything I told you happened. Many cycles have passed since Nexus Prime. Many more since the Kraken Vale. Yet the galaxy has not forgotten. Humans moved on. They explored. They traded. They laughed on open channels as if nothing had changed. But every species listened differently now. Old alliances shifted. New treaties formed. Quiet words passed in dark corners. One question appeared in every council chamber. What do we do if humans look our way? Some species chose distance. They moved colonies farther out. They strengthened borders. They built bigger guns. Others chose friendship. They sent gifts. They opened trade lanes. They learned human languages. They smiled in meetings. They hoped kind words would keep the peace. None of it removed the fear. HFY's voice stayed low and even. I receive messages sometimes, from old comrades who survived, from scouts who watch human space, from diplomats who sit in rooms like this one. They all say the same thing. Humans grow stronger every cycle. Their ships become faster. Their weapons become stranger. Their numbers increase without war, without conquest. They simply exist and multiply. Last cycle. A friend who fled to the outer rim. He sent a single image, a human colony on a world once empty. Green fields, blue seas, children running under open sky. He wrote, "They build as if the galaxy belongs to them already. They do not boast, they do not threaten. They simply continue and we watch and we tremble. I keep that image near my bed. I look at it every night. It shows no guns, no armies, no fire. Yet it frightens me more than any battle memory. Humans do not need to fight to win. They win by making others afraid to start." The six-eyed one leaned forward. His many eyes blinked at different times. Do humans ever speak of us, of the Varan, of what happened? Yes, HFY answered. They speak little. But when they do, the words carry weight. In their history files, they list the Kraken Vale as first contact. They list Epsilon Eridani as the siege that proved resolve. They list Nexus Prime as the end of one era and the start of another. They do not celebrate. They do not mourn. Facts. They add one line at the bottom. Let this stand as warning. That warning spreads. It reaches young species just entering space. It reaches ancient ones who thought themselves safe. It plants seeds of caution. It makes fleets pause before crossing lines. It makes admirals think twice before giving aggressive orders. The galaxy changes not because humans conquer, but because humans exist. HFY paused. His scars dimmed a little. He looked out the small window at his garden. Plants grew tall under artificial light. Wind moved their leaves gently. He continued. I live here. I tend my plants. I repair my house. I speak to no one most cycles. Yet I know I am watched. Not by humans, but by others who remember. They send drones sometimes, small quiet ones. They record my garden. They record my shaking. They report back to councils far away. I do not mind. I understand. I am proof. Proof that humans can break a mighty species. Proof that mercy can leave deeper scars than death. Lessons never fade. The rock creature spoke next, his voice like stones grinding together. What should we do then? How do we live with this truth? HFY met his gaze. Live carefully, he said. Respect their space. Respect their memory. Never test their patience. Never assume they have limits they will not cross. Build your strength quietly. Trade fairly. Speak honestly. Prepare always. And above all, remember what I have told you. Tell your children. Tell your leaders. Tell anyone who will listen. Humans fight not for land or power alone. They fight for the right to wake each morning without fear. And when that right feels threatened, they become the fear itself. He leaned back. His trembling eased for a moment, almost stopped. Then it returned, softer, but steady. That is the final truth. The galaxy trembles not because humans are cruel, not because they are strong, not because they hate. It trembles because humans remember. Every slight, every wound, every life lost, they carry it forward. They teach it forward. They make sure no one ever needs to learn it again the hard way. HFY rose slowly. He walked to the door. He opened it. Cold air came in. The diplomats stood one by one. They gathered their things. The feathered one stopped at the threshold. He turned back, his voice quiet. Thank you, HFY. Your words will travel far. They will save lives, perhaps. They will keep peace, perhaps. HFY nodded once. Go now. Tell them everything. Leave nothing out. Let the trembling spread. It is better than the fire. The diplomats left. The door closed. The drones powered down one by one. The room grew silent. Calvor stood alone. He looked at the table, at the scratches, at the empty chairs. He felt the shaking in his limbs. He felt it in his chest. He accepted it. He walked outside. The sky above Thalor 9 stayed gray and calm. He knelt by his favorite row of plants. He touched the leaves. He whispered to them the same words he had carried since Nexus Prime. We remember. We do not. Forgive. Then he stood. He returned to his work. He pulled weeds. He checked water levels. He trimmed stems. The trembling stayed with him. It moved with every motion. It lived in every breath. It would never leave. Far away in the wide dark between stars, human ships traveled new routes. They carried families. They carried hope. They carried memory. They moved forward without hurry, without fear, because they knew the galaxy had learned, because they knew the trembling would keep the peace longer than any treaty ever could. Calvor looked up at the sky one last time. He saw no ships, no lights, no threats, only endless black, and in that black the quiet echo of a lesson taught in blood and fire and mercy. He turned back to his garden. He continued his simple life. The survivor who trembled, the witness who spoke, the proof that humans changed everything. And the galaxy listened, and the galaxy remembered.